Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
You know, it's obviously people like you and I who marinate in this are just like, oh, this doesn't seem new. But talk to us about your first reaction when you heard about this, you know, the missing Russia, election interference binder.
Oh, well, I hearkened back to Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony about it and some earlier reporting on it. Back in March, there was a lawsuit filed by John Solomon to get the binder from the National Archives. So, and then the National Archives said the DOJ has the binder. So I don't know that it's necessarily missing.
Yeah.
But it is of note what is new in this story, that they briefed Congress on it, because you only do that when you have to and it's bad. So there must be something missing.
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked to Frank Figluzzi, whatever, yesterday, Allison. Thank you for having simple name. And yeah, I mean, it's not that we have the information, but, you know, clearly, again, you don't need to be an expert to go, oh, if this proved it was a hoax, he would have released this. Like, obviously, I'm sure it proved exactly what's in the Mueller report and in the Republican-led Senate intelligence report, that, you know, Putin interfered to install Trump in 2016. I mean, it's
100%.
And I would assume people think he gave it or sold it to Putin, but I'm sure he didn't have to sell it. I'm sure he just gave it to him as a thank you, right?
Yeah, or destroyed parts of it that are incriminating to him. And then like what he did with the Milley Iran document, tried to use it out of context to, I don't know, prove his point that there was no Russia hoax, even though his defense in the DC case is that Russia interfered in our elections. Mm-hmm. Which blows my mind.
Yeah. Also, Frank talked about, we don't know at this point. Is this part of Jack Smith's investigation? Should it be a new one? Has there been a search warrant served on Mark Meadows? Because obviously now Trump and Cassidy Hutchinson have said Mark Meadows had it, right?
Yep, they both say Mark Meadows has it, and he is the quiet. He's the quiet one, right? And he's got Terwilliger there. He's probably got one of the only decent lawyers in Trumpville. And so who knows if he's cooperating. I was just talking with Pete Strzok about this on today's cleanup, and I'm like, or tomorrow's, he's got to be, right? Like, he has to be.
Has to be.
Yeah. Cooperating.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, you also retweeted Kyle Cheney, who said Court of Appeals rejects Mark Meadows' bid to move his Georgia charges to federal court on 2 grounds. Removal does not apply to former officials. Charges against Meadows did not involve, quote unquote, his official duties. And you said, I imagine Meadows will appeal to SCOTUS, but if he loses, I wonder if he will then seek a plea deal with the DA. DA Fani Willis has already indicated a plea deal is not available to Meadows, Trump, or Rudy. I mean, not to mention, which everybody is saying, even, God forbid, Trump gets back in, he can't be pardoned. This is a state, right? This is a state prosecution.
Right, yeah, 100%. And that also, every single plea for immunity is being just struck down. And the fact that super conservative Judge Pryor, the chief judge of the 11th Circuit, the super conservative 11th Circuit, real good buddies with Clarence Thomas, is like, bro, none of that was part of your job. None of it. We've been hearing that over and over again from the courts, and I don't think that the Supreme Court will, think any differently about Trump's immunity that he's trying to get.
Yeah. Speaking of Clarence Thomas, you were wondering the same thing I was. You said, who gave him a $515,000 mortgage with only $8,000 down? Where do where do I sign up for that deal?
You have to be nominated for the Supreme Court by the Federalist Society, I think.
Yeah, every news story that comes out about him is extraordinary, right? This is a nice court you got here. Shame if all of us was to quit because we ain't making enough scratch.
Well, just like Russia going after like really sleazy businessmen to do their bidding, like think of Lewandowski and Carter Page and Donald Trump. It looks like the Federalist Society looks for conservative, malleable, I can't swear on your show, people who have like debt and financial problems. Like these are like talk to anybody who's worked in the government. These are red flags for people who are like insider
Yeah.
bad guys.
Yeah.
So they look for these malleable people in debt. Kavanaugh. They all seem to have rape accusations, and then they bring them in and then lavish them with gifts and to vote their way. I mean, it's an interesting, if you do a psychological profile on the conservatives on the Supreme Court, they all seem to have been in debt at some point, need their debts paid off, and are also like morally scrupulous.
Do you feel? Don't you feel like there's another shoe to drop with this? The missing, Intel binder. First of all, as I mentioned to Frank, it had length and girth. It was 10 inches, so this was not small amount of.
Who did I say? I said yesterday about Trump bragging about his 10-inch binder. I said just because you showed it to me twice doesn't make it 10 inches.
All right, that was the second best line after, obviously the Washington Post reported on this. Did you see Hillary Clinton just included a report and she captioned it "puppet"? No puppet, no puppet, you're the puppet. No
puppet.
No
puppet.
It's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians.
Wow. I mean, the fact he's just quoting, Putin as about the rottenness of our democracy is like a character witness. And this is just the biggest, dumbest, most obvious plot line ever, isn't it?
Well, all of it. Like how many years ago were we like, how did Germany fall so fast into fascism? And now we've got Donald Trump calling people vermin and talking about poisoning the blood of our nation with immigrants. I mean, literally parroting Hitler's language, and it's like the boiling frog, right? I'm like, how's everybody not seeing this?
There it is, my first drink of the day, Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Many of you know my story. I stopped drinking wine for 3 years during COVID, during the lockdown as part of a health reset. Now I drink wine in moderation, but this is an amazing new product. I've always believed in probiotics. And Z-Biotics, check this out. You drink just one of these. It's the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. I am using this and I feel great in the morning. I don't have to worry if I have an extra glass of wine, I still feel great in the morning. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. I've always had acid reflux problems. It is this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. All I know is it works. It is Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. Go to zbiotics.com/politicalvoices or scan the QR code on the screen right now.